everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Father's Note, where we promote fatherhood through building men. As always, we're so happy that you took the time out of your busy schedule to spend this moment with us. We are back with another great episode, a great conversation with a dear brother that I've met not too long ago. His name is Mr. Willie Panther Jr. Of course, before we go into that, listen, if you love what we do on this show, we're going to ask that you would go ahead on. If you're watching by Facebook, you could be watching by Facebook or you could be watching by YouTube. But if you're watching by YouTube and you're not a subscriber, will you please subscribe? If you have, especially if you are a frequent visitor to the show, subscribe, like, comment. We'll certainly appreciate your support in that area. It would definitely help to push what we do here to get the message out. I'm sure you love the content that we have here. And of course, you know why we're here. We're here to promote fathers. We're here to promote men, young men. It doesn't matter who you are, your background, color of your skin, but we just love to have conversations. We love to share stories of why, we do what we do, and it's so important that the message gets out and everybody understand, especially knowing that men go through so much, that it's good to understand that we have stories as well, but all of us are not bad. All of us are not locked up or incarcerated, but we have a lot of men here that are out here that are striving to do great things, of course, and to be about their business as well as the business of God. But as we go forth, we're going to talk about my guest tonight. He wrote this book entitled Damaged Goods, right? And it may be small, but when I was reading it, man, it just reminded me so much of my experiences. I thought so much about what a lot of things that I have went through, and he really tapped in. And it's really good content. So I had reached out to him and asked him if he didn't mind coming on and talking about the book and share his experience as to why he wrote Damaged Goods, right? So just to give you a little background, he's 50 years old, right? And he's married to he has a beautiful wife that goes by the name of Donna. Of course, she's a pastor, my understanding. He has 2 children, a son and a daughter, both at the age of 31. And there's a side note, but you have to read the book to find out the detail, but they are not twins, right? Okay. He's a truck driver. That's his occupation. His parents are Willie and Betty. Of course, is my understanding that his father is deceased, been about 2 years now. His mother is still living, but she has remarried, so she's currently now Betty Jones. His hobbies are he loved to sing and he loved to fish. Sounds like very common to someone who is in my family, a son-in-law who loves to do the same. He said that his favorite quote is John 3:16. And I want to hear from him why he chose John 3:16 as his favorite Bible scripture, shall I say. And I asked him, well, who would you say is your person of influence? And he said his wife. Now, I could be honest that he kind of get into that in this book, right? He kind of shares some story. It's real interesting. I'm not going to tell you his whole story. You're going to have to buy the book. We're going to tell you where you can purchase the book if you want to read it and share it or purchase it for someone you know, or you want to read it yourself. But it's it really blessed my soul. It really blessed me tremendously. So without any further ado, I want to bring on my guest, Mr. Willie Frank Panther Jr., who is actually the 4th, but I'll let him tell that story. Welcome to the platform, Mr. Junior.
How
Mr.
you doing,
Panther.
Mr. Nelson?
Hey,
How you doing?
great, man.
That was a great introduction, man. I love the introduction. How you
Well,
broke
we
it all
tried,
down.
man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hey, but let's get into this because we don't want to keep our audience waiting, right?
Yeah.
But I want to ask this question. Well, first of all, let's get into this. Okay, so why is John 3:16 your favorite quote?
Well,
Your scripture. Why?
Well, because first of all, when the Bible began to read about, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son,
Uh-huh.
and whosoever believe him shall not perish but have everlasting life. So it's just like he thought enough for me to die before I ever existed. You know what I'm saying?
That's
He
powerful,
already
man.
thought enough for us to die before we ever came into this world, and that gave us hope. If he wouldn't have never died, man, we wouldn't have had the hope, and we wouldn't have the tree of life that he have given us again. We would have been in a mess, man, and that's a powerful thing with somebody. They love you enough to die before you ever enter into the world.
Wow, man, that's powerful, man. I would
Yeah,
never thought about it like that, but that's
yes, sir.
good, man. And then tell us, why did you say that your wife um, is your person of influence?
My wife is my personal influence because out of all the things that I've been through, and then out of all the things I came out of, my wife she my pastor, and she have groomed me into the ministry, and I'm getting more wisdom through the word from her, because she is right now. I'm going through training and minister class, and she
Mhm.
my teacher. So I never dated with anyone that was poured into me spiritual than I could ever imagine. So she picked up and she started pouring into me more spiritual. So I started learning more about myself.
Oh,
So
man, that's good, man. All right, cool, cool, man. That's great.
so
So,
when you ever catch a woman, or you ever catch somebody that you married to, and they can pour into you spiritually, they actually feeding you more than you know.
that's true. That's true. That's good, man. That's interesting. So let's get into the book, man. Let's
Mhm.
get into the book. I myself as an author, right? One of the first questions I had to ask myself was, who am I writing to?
Mhm.
Um, who was my targeted audience?
Mhm.
So no doubt, at the beginning, I was all over the place. Okay, and I had to decide, okay, who do I really want to target with my book, with my
Mhm.
story, with my life stories and life experiences? And of course, I narrowed it down. So my question that I want to ask you is that while you were writing Damaged Goods, who were your target audience?
Well, that was kind of easy, because what I did was I took the people out of my equation. I didn't think about who gonna buy it. I didn't think about who's gonna read it, but I wrote it to free myself.
Oh wow, that's
So
powerful.
I really wrote that book because I feel like I was 30 years behind, because God already put this in me about one day you're gonna write a book, but it's not the time right now.
Right,
And
right.
you're gonna write a book about your life, and then you're gonna put it out for the world can see it and the world can read it. But I was really writing to myself to free me. It was more about me than the people.
Man, okay. Okay, I like that. I
You
like
know, if you ever notice something, um, when you got a lot of stuff inside of you, but I went to a counselor one time, and he began to tell me all the things you don't been through in your life, or he wanted me to write stories about my paragraph about my family, my mother, and all. But he
yeah,
said when you release it on paper, you can kind of release it, and you go back to the people that done things to you,
right.
shape your mind in that way. And if you do that, you can forgive yourself, forgive them, because you learn the reason why. Why they did this, why it was like this. And I'll tell you more about that as we go on through it.
So you decided to put it all in a book.
I would decide to put it out in a book. And I'm actually right now, God is releasing another book called After the Death.
Oh, that sounds
Yes,
interesting.
sir.
That sounds interesting. Wow. Okay. So in the beginning of chapter 1, you asked a question, what are damaged goods? And
Mm-hmm.
you answered it with this particular scripture, which I found rather
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And it was Psalms 51, beginning
Mm-hmm.
at verse 7. You want to put that up? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you says, purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean.
Mm-hmm.
Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow.
Mm-hmm.
Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the
Mm-hmm.
bones which thou hast broken may rejoice. You say, it says, make me to hear joy and gladness. Oh, I already read that. I'm sorry. Verse 9, hide thy face from my sins and blot out all my iniquities.
Mm-hmm.
Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose that scripture to define damaged goods?
When I use that scripture, because deep down inside, I knew all the wrong that I have done, and I knew the things that I have went through. And in order for me to release what was in me and get past the things and the hurt, the drama and the trauma that I've been through, and the things I've seen, the things I've done, I felt like I really need God to clean me. I wanted him to wash me to the point where I'll be the vessel that he'll be able to use, that I no longer will stay in the same predicament that I am by being damaged and looking at things from an outer perspective, that I can start with me first.
So you were really, I guess you could say that you really went on a self-evaluation.
Yes. I was
Yeah.
I was really trying to find me, because we as people, we look on the outside of everything. We thinking everything is on the outside when it's really start with us first.
That's good.
You know, we our own enemy, and we say the enemy this, the enemy that, the enemy on our track, but we our own enemy, and in everything that we want to do, everything that we need to do, because God is in us. That's another reason why I chose that scripture, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. But not only that he died, but when he came back again, now he no longer live on the outside of it, he live on the inside. So we have to define what's in us, and then we can be able to, you know what I'm saying? That's where I really chose that scripture, because it was all about me first.
Man, those are two good bookend scriptures for your life, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's good. So let's get a little deeper. So let's put up slide 2 for me, please. You said this in the book. This is a quote. This can go on. Oh, I'm sorry. Slide 1. Go to slide 1. It's slide 1. Okay. Sometimes when life happens, you wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when life happens, it tends to leave scars
Mm-hmm.
and have the tendency to either make you stronger and wiser. But
Mm-hmm.
if these scars continue to be exposed to pressure, they can break you to the point that you are no longer emotionally available for yourself or anyone else. So my question to you, can you shed light on that moment in your life that you were emotionally unavailable?
I was as I go on that, I was married for 16 years. And at that time we had been together ever since we was in high school till we got grown. That's what my son mom. And I got so hurt because the marriage was failing, and what I was going through in the marriage. You asked me a question earlier. You say, or do you play music or you sing? I used to be a musician at the church. My dad is a pastor, and he was Bishop Willie Frank Prather. And I used to be a musician there, and I used to play other churches. So when I got hurt, I was so emotional, and I was so mad and angry at God. I hid the talent. I didn't want to play. I put it down, and I said, and I began to ask God. And this how emotional and traumatized I was for the failing in the marriage. I even asked God, why did you let this happen to me? Out of all the things that I have done, and I go to church every Sunday, I work every day, I try to make sure my family good. And God began to show me, why not you? I chose you for this particular time. Do you don't not know all the seed that you sowed? You got to reap the harvest. It's your time now. But when I began to think about the things I had done, and I that's why I say I had to go within myself and then do a self cleaning.
You say you were married for 16 years?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
You
Yes,
want to get into what happened?
sir.
Why the marriage ended?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you why the marriage.
What was the issue? If you can, I don't know if you want to or
Okay.
not.
I don't ever have no shame of it. Okay, we was married for 16 years, and she decided to step out. And
Okay.
and when she stepped out, I remember going to her and I was like, we both have did wrong. We don't have done wrong. Let's fix the marriage. Let's try to make it work. And I remember, I didn't know how I was gonna get past that situation because as a man, stuff stays on your mind.
Right.
So she began to tell me. I remember one day she told me, she say, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. Just go ahead and find you somebody else and go on." And from that day, it took me probably about a good year and a half. And I went and I was so hurt, so ashamed. I remember my mom never used to come knock on the door. I would hide myself because I didn't even want to be bothered with people. And I was at the same time I was angry because of the way the marriage ended. So I had stopped going to church for a little while. I was actually angry with God. And then when I realized that the things that I had sown had to come back to me, when God spoke to me, he said, do you know the things you sowed gotta come back to you? He said he never say how it gonna come back, but it gonna return.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 24. My very first marriage, I was 24 years old. And that would be very young. And I try to do the right things. You know how they tell you if you got a baby by a woman, you might as well go ahead and marry. That's what
Right.
they tell you. But when you start learning truth, it ain't always you had to marry because of that situation. So we was married for 16 years.
So I'm sure hearing her to tell you that I love you, but I'm not in love with you, you might as well go ahead and find someone else. Did you at times fault yourself or felt that you as a man was inadequate, and it was may have been because of your lack of whatever is the reason why she felt that she needed to step out?
Yes, and I didn't feel inadequate. I didn't feel like it was really my fault because I knew the man I was. I took care of everything that I should have taken care of. What hurt it was the moment she said, "I want you to hurt and feel what I have felt," and that's what really hurted me because
You had some flaws then.
I had some flaws. If you read in the book, you can see that I had flaws because I got two kids, the same age. I got two kids, 31. So I had some flaws. We both had the flaws. But
oh yeah, that's right. Now I remember. Now I remember. Okay. All right. Well, we're not gonna tell the whole story. They going, yeah, now I remember. Okay, so let's go. Let me get this next one up. Put a slide two for me, please. Quote, you said this can go hidden and planted within us for many years. What we must learn is how to identify those negative seeds and pluck them from the root. So my question is, what are some examples of negative seeds and what would be the process of rooting them out? What was some of your negative seeds, man?
My negative seeds at that time, I had a woman issue. I love the women, and I'll tell you how that came about as we go further. But that was a negative seed. That's, to me, that was a seed that needed to be plucked out and it needed to be pulled out. And by me going through the divorce, and by that changed my whole life because that made me to the point where I started working. When I tell you I started working on myself to the point I was able to pull up that seed and pluck that out And that's how I ended up marrying the woman that I'm married to now. And that's what I was saying. She's my biggest influence because she helped me to learn myself more spiritual than I have ever known myself.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little more because I got some question I want to ask you. So, let me see. Let me see how I can put this out there. So, when did you first start dating?
How
old were you when you first started dating? Because it's something you said there.
Yes,
I think I might know where you're at. And it reminds me of a lesson that I know I had to learn. And I had to tell one of my sons this. I had to drill it in his head. Hey, son, listen, this is what you want to be. This is what you want to do. So how old were you when you first started dating?
Man, I was 16 years old trying to date. Yes.
16 years old trying to date. And I guess let's say you're engaged sexually?
I started that probably about 17.
Okay. All right. Now remember if any questions, if you don't want to answer no question, you don't have to ask no questions, man.
No, I'm glad you asking the question because I think everybody need to hear this because it's the stuff that haven't been told to people. And sometimes young people feel like they already on ride and they know everything. So I think this would be a good thing to tell you. And you asked me when I started dating. I started dating at 16, but when they read into the story, they will understand this part right here. I was talking to a girl at 16 and I wasn't sexy, acting like that. And she started dating, messing around with an older guy. You probably read that in the book. And when I came over, she began to come down the stairs and she had a older guy coming down the stairs. And I said, "What's up with this?" She said, "Have a seat. I'll talk to you in a minute." She walked them all the way out the door. And I was young. He was older than me.
Wow.
And he was older than me. And that crushed me so hard and so bad. I walked away from her house, sad, talking to myself and putting it in the atmosphere. I was talking to the universe. I was like, I never let a woman hurt me again. I never let a woman hurt me. I be the one who hurt them. That's how it started because I started prophesizing things to existence, not knowing at a young age that I was prophesizing what I was not gonna do anymore.
Right.
And I was gonna be the herder instead of the herdee. You know what I'm saying?
But let me ask you this question though. But did you get, once you started in that routine as a man, did you get to the place where it's that let me rephrase the question this way. Once you started, were you always in that place where you wanted to have a woman in your life?
Yes, I would. Me and my friends, they'll all go to the club. And I wouldn't go to the club because I already want to be in the prison of a female. I was like, I don't want to go to the club. I just go on a date. You know what I'm saying? It's like you always had to feel that void because that would seem like you wanted company, you needed companionship. And I'd rather go on a date than anything, than hang out. And that's how you really start. If you sit back and you evaluate everything and that's what happening, you kind of need to start checking yourself because you should learn how to be to yourself before you can work on yourself.
So basically you got to the place where you just felt that I got to have a woman, be in a woman's presence all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you needed the presence of a woman, were you looking for love at the same time?
Yes, that's what be happening. You looking for love, you looking for comfort. If you read a little further in the book, I even talk about I even turned to an older woman because they was more like a mother. It was like nurturing from a mother because it's a mother figure, woman older, and she making sure everything taken care of. She making sure you good, you know, and that's what you
I'm gonna get to that. Yeah. I'm gonna get to that because I got a question. I got a question pertaining to that because it's something that I thought about. So let's because in the beginning you had made a comment, right?
Mhm.
And like in the beginning of the book, and you wrote that at one point you viewed your dad as your hero.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
But your hero failed.
Mm-hmm.
So now as time passed, I know you did say that he has transitioned,
Mm-hmm.
but even though he failed as being your hero, did you still consider him to be your hero?
Yes, I consider him still to this day to be my hero. And what I mean about as I went through life, he was my hero, and he failed me. Reason why? Because every young man that grows up, who you always want to be around, your dad.
Your dad, that's true.
So my dad, you look at my dad, me and him looking like we sounded like we was everything spit image.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time when I was like about 9 or 10 years old, my dad, he always he taught me how to work real good, how to work. So at this early age, he used to jog all the time, work out all the time and jog. So he used to tell me, say, come on, let's go jogging. And so we'll get in our jog. I'm just glad to be with my dad. But so
Right.
we'll turn off and veer off, and we'll be in a place. And I'm outside playing with the kids. I'm outside playing with kids and everything, not knowing no better because you're not but 9 or 10 years old. And it was later on in my life that I found out he was actually having an affair. And when it came out, my mom was so tore up. She was distraught from that. And that's when the hero kind of like failed me.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a promise, and I seen how it told my mom up so bad. And I said, that's something that I never want to do. I never want to hurt a woman. I never want to cheat. I never want to do that. That never was in the plan. But remember when I told you when I was 16 years old, when it happened to me, and I spoke it into the atmosphere, and I began to proclaim that I'm not going to let nobody hurt me again. I started turning into what my hero did.
Oh, so you went after, you hurt them, not intentionally, but you hurt them before you allow yourself to get hurt. Because you mentioned in there about building walls.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned in the book about building walls,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I want to ask the question: how old were you when you realized that your father was having an extramarital affair?
I was 13. I was 13. I had got about 13. And I remember the kids that I was playing with, and we still friends to this day. And it make it so bad when they see me, they still like, "What's up, little bro?" And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And
wait a minute. So you said that the children that you were playing with,
yeah,
were the children of the lady that your father?
Yes. My father was having an affair with her at the time.
Wow.
And so I'm thinking that I'm playing with kids that just got we in the neighborhood that all the time. Kids that my dad was having an affair with. So that's when I say my hero failed me. He failed me. And for a while, I carried that with me for a while. It was hard for me to forgive and forget about that. And then one day when I started observing myself, I started looking and seeing that I was becoming what I said I was going to become, was my dad all over again.
So once you figured out, did your relationship with your father begin to become less of?
Yes, it's changed for a long period of time. It changed all the way to I got like 19 or 20 because I didn't view him the same. And I was like, as I grew up, I started looking at him totally different. And but it went a while, about 19. Yeah, 20.
Man, it sounds so familiar, bro.
Yeah, I was a little hurt, a little angry, and it's a lot of times, I want to really just sit down and talk to my mom about some things, but I didn't. And
Right.
I held it all in. And when I held it all in, it was one day God said, it's time to release. And that's where this book come from. Damn is good. Yeah.
Okay. So let's put up slide 3. You wrote this quote in the book. You say that when they failed, you begin to feel like a failure because your hero has the power to plant negative seeds in your life.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you, do you blame your father for what you have been through and experienced in life?
As I go back and I look at it now, I can't blame him for the negative seeds, but I think more of me watching what's when you watch something, if you don't be careful, you become it. And by me seeing it as I grew up, because that didn't never stop, at that time, at the early age. And the more I seen it, see, it's just like teaching you bad habits. So you can't really blame him all the way, but in a way you can, because I feel like if you're gonna do something negative to that extent, it shouldn't be done around your child.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You see what I'm saying? Because if there's just like if you look at say if you want to learn how to do the perfect murder, all you got to do is keep watching what they show you, and you can become the perfect murder. You know what I'm saying? So the more you watch stuff, you get familiar, and it become a routine, become a habit, and become a habit. You start learning how to get good at it because you don't seen it done. And I wished I would have never we partake of some time for what we see.
But eventually you had to forgive your father.
Yes, I had to forgive him. I had to forgive him.
And this was around, you say 1920?
Yeah, I was around 19 or 20. I was so hurt about what happened at the age of 19. I moved out. I was like, I'm not gonna stay here. And sometimes I think at that time me and him bumped heads a lot because of what I did know. You know what I'm saying? Because if you did know, you kind of bump head. So I left home at the age of 19, never went back to the house, but I always just go check on them, and I try to learn how to live on my own.
So your mother stayed in the marriage with him though.
She stayed in the marriage. She stayed in the marriage, and she she stayed there, and they live happy ever after. They stayed married to the day he died. They stayed married. I'm 40. I'm 50. So they would have been married 51 years. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. You want to talking about the power of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Hey, I just want to acknowledge some of our viewers here. Thank you so much for watching. I see that my sister is on here. Hey, sis, Mr. Jones, thank you for joining us. Of course, my wife, she's watching as well. If you got any questions for Mr. Prather, please put them in the comments, and we'll definitely make sure he gets them, and he can provide an answer for you. So let's keep going on. Slide 4, please. You wrote this quote in the book. You said, "I spent years fighting behind walls that kept me imprisoned.
Mm-hmm.
I remained trapped behind powerful and durable walls that I built to keep me from hurting again. There I was, walking in the shoes of my past, completely trapped and defined by brokenness. While in this unhealed state of being, I continue to move on as if nothing was wrong."
Yes.
My question is, how long were you building the walls?
Man, I started building the walls ever since I was 16. I was building the walls the day after I told you what happened when I was 16. I would let you get so far in, but I wouldn't let you come all the way. And I started putting up this wall to protect me, and it was protecting me, protecting my feelings, my heart. And I felt like if I can keep you on the other side of the wall, if anything happened, it'll be okay because you didn't get too close to me. And I build those walls, and I try to build them as high as I can, and as wide as I can. And I know you can go around, you can go over. And then, so you imagine somebody trying to love you from the other side of the wall. And have you ever heard on the other side of the wall, when you got a wall there, you trying to confess your love to me, it sound like echoes. So I can't really hear everything you can say. So I remember when females used to say, I love you, I say, I do too. I wouldn't tell them. Yes, sir. I kept that wall to the point where if you love me, you're going to show me and you're going to prove me that you love me. And once I see it shaking, if it get a little shaky, I seen anything, I kind of like push back. Yeah.
Okay, so you were not being honest with no one else, nor were you being honest with yourself.
Yes, I wasn't being honest with nobody else because I was afraid to get hurt. And once we be hurt, sometimes we don't realize that's where we become damaged, and we become damaged good to somebody else. We are no longer no good until we fix ourselves.
So you saw what your father did.
Mm-hmm.
Then you saw what this woman did to you.
Yes.
And right there, you know what? I am not going to allow myself to be abused in this way.
Exactly. That's how it was.
I'm going to protect my own feelings because I don't like how this feels. This feels uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I remember one time I was talking to my cousin, and he would begin to tell me about when his wife cheated on him. And this is how he described it. He says it's like a bowling ball inside your stomach. It just roll back and forth. You don't have any comforts. And we were getting to share notes, man. And I was telling him, I say, I understand how I feel because I have been there. And that's why I never let anybody in, because I didn't want to go back through that feeling.
You know, I tell you what, though, I can say this, that when you as a man and you're loving with everything that you have, everything that you got.
Yes.
And you're being sincere with it. And then to have a woman whom you're giving your all to,
mm-hmm.
to step out on you,
mm-hmm.
that's a hurtful thing, man.
Yes, it is.
And I don't think most women, I don't think most people, let alone women, I believe they think that we as men, we don't have feelings either. It don't hurt.
Yeah.
It's not a painful feeling to have someone to do that to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I have experienced that myself. That's why I can say what I said. Nevertheless, though, but bro, you went and got revenge. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, it was more. Wasn't like revenge. But I look at it as it was more, I'm not going to trust anybody. I at that time, I couldn't trust nobody. It was like putting me first. You know what I'm saying? Putting me first before you, and get you before you get me. Because I always felt like it was going to come. I just, because I had been hurt, and I just
like anticipation on it.
Yeah, I'm like, we young. She don't be faithful. She gonna get me regardless. And like I told you, I turned to an older woman, and I thought because an older woman knew what they wanted in life, so they was already prepped for a relationship, and at the same time,
we already know how that turned out, right?
Yes, sir. And
go ahead. I'm sorry, but I don't mean to cut you off, but we got some questions I want to really get to. Miss Crystal Glasgow asked a question. She says that when or what was your breaking point that made you change and work on yourself? Now, hold on to that. Don't answer that yet.
Okay.
And also, my wife asked the question, how long did you continue in that cycle, and how did you come out? Now, listen, I wanted to acknowledge those questions, but we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, right? We're going to get to that. So is it okay, or you want to answer those now?
It's up to you, however you want to do it.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so you get this quote, slide 5, please. You said, I wanted to be the man my dad failed to be to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I never wanted to hurt a woman the way that my dad hurt my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I held up to this well until things took a turn south in my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, and I think this, you already told the story.
Yes, sir.
The question I want to ask you there, what was the trigger that caused you to follow in your father's footsteps? And I believe it was the incident that you had experienced when you
Yes.
were 16 years old.
When I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Next quote. You said here, it said, I was looking for someone with mother-like quality. Now, I thought this was funny. I don't mean that in an offensive way, but I laugh because I'm like, man, you know, we think that we know what's best for us, especially when we try to go and fix things ourselves, and we really just make a mess of things even worse, you know. And but you said that I needed a nurturer. I needed to feel as if there was someone that had been through similar things as I'd been through and could teach me how to heal. My interest was for someone that I could trust to protect my heart from pain. And the question is, you said you became mentally and physically. Now, this is interesting. You say I became mentally and physically attracted to older women. What was that experience like, and how did that work out for you?
Well, like I told you at first, I was looking for somebody who already had been there, who was well seasoned, well experienced, and had that. It was gonna give me the motherly quality, and kind of nurture me more, for I won't lean towards the pain. And so I turned to older women, and I felt like if I date older women, they already know what they want. They already decided in life. They ain't trying to play and the games until you run into that one.
Let me ask this question though. Now, how much older?
Well, I was. If I tell you, you're probably gonna be knocked out your feet, and I'm gonna tell you the whole story.
Let's try.
At this time, I'm like 17, 18, by 18, and I was actually dating a woman at that time, probably about 30.
Well, you had a cougar, man.
She was about in her 30s, and I never tell the story to you. I don't really tell the story. So my mom found out, right? It was one of my auntie best friends. And my mom found out. My mom went to the police station, and she began to tell the police that that I'm dating an older woman. And they
Really?
said, yeah. And so they began to ask her, did she have any proof? And they said, on the way, we'll be able to do something to her. You got to bring him to the police station, and he got to confess that he are talking to an older woman. And so when my mama said, I might as well forget it, because he ain't gonna come down and do that. But yes. And everybody had to be. And I remember the older lady was telling me, she say, she was real good, and she was a nice woman, and she was about her business. And I remember she telling me one time at an early age, she said, I'm gonna teach you how to really love a woman and make a woman feel like a woman. So
this is the woman that you was with?
Yeah, at 18, 13. So she really taught me how to get on my grind, how to get to the point where how to be business with a lot of stuff that I accomplished. So it like she taught me how to really step up and be in a man role.
So what was some of the lessons that she taught you?
Well, for one, I learned, I always had a business mind, but I just didn't know how to get everything and bring it forward. She taught me how to do a lot of things in business, how to present myself as a perfect gentleman. And she taught me how to really go out there and make things happen.
Okay. All right. I see you keeping it PG, bro, but that's all right. That's good.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you said this, that you said this. You said, little did I know. This is on slide 7, I think it is. Little did I know that dealing with someone older would have the tendency to break me even more. Yes.
Because what happened is, when you're dealing with somebody who older, that really start teaching you and value you, and then when they hurt you, it's like she wasn't no better than what the young one, because the things she taught me, then she turned around and she hurt me also. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it make you feel like, dang, is there any good ones out here? You can't find them my age. I can find them older, and then it was just crazy because as you go through life, and then when they see you today, they be like, man, I messed up. They messed up. So she broke me because she was much older, and I remember one day she was telling me about her being older. She think we just need to separate and let it go because of the age different. I was like, well, you don't broke me now, and now you don't got to the point you just want to leave the relationship. So
Wow.
that's how that came about, and then it triggered me back to the point where I'm not gonna trust nobody again. That's how it was.
I'm gonna tell you how similar
Mhm.
our stories are. I had the same experience with my father. I was at 14 at that time.
Mhm.
Same thing. Where we once had a very close relationship. That experience severed. Same reason. Um, I did date an older woman.
Mhm.
I think she was about 15 years older than me. So I got you beat on that, bro.
Yes, sir.
So, but as I was reading this, right, this particular chapter, about you wanting to get involved with an older woman,
Mhm.
I wrote in the margin of the book, I pinned in the margin of the book was, man, I guess I'm gonna write it just like, why didn't your mother's love satisfy you?
Well, it was like when I was coming up, I had the perfect childhood. I got everything I wanted. Everything was there. Um, they was a good provider, but they never told me love. I love you, and I feel like that's what a young man or a young woman want to hear from their parents, but they always feel like you already know I love you for the things I do for you. And so what happened was, you might not believe this, but my dad died 2 years ago. I was about 47, 48 when my dad got sick. I remember I went to see my dad in the hospital. That was the very first time that he ever said, I love you. When I said, I love you, man, he like, I love you too. And from that moment when he told me he loved me, I'm about to get in tears right now. When that very moment he told me he loved me, I started crying because that was something that I was chasing for my whole life. To hear that I love you from one of my parents. You got me back here about to cry, man.
No, bro. Hey, listen. Let me tell you something. I told you from the beginning that when I read your book, it reminded me so much of my own life. And even you didn't write this in the book about what you just shared with the
Yeah.
audience. However, though, I know as a man and as a son, I know exactly how you felt about it.
Yeah.
Because that's all, to be honest, man, to my father and I know we not this broadcast or podcast is not about myself and my father, but I just want to use it as a comparison of I understand where you're at. And I know I too 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
for 30 years, even longer than that, that's all I long for, man, to hear my father tell me, hey, I love you, son.
Yeah.
That's
You
all I ever want. Hey, just like you say, yeah, they assume you already know them, but you want to hear those words.
yes.
You really want to hear those words. So I want to say to the audience, those of you who have children, no matter what their age are, and I want to say this to fathers especially, please don't be afraid to love on your children. You have to. And when I say love on them, don't be afraid to say the words. Don't be afraid to engage with them, to love them, to hug on them, to, just to share it, and but I've come to this realization, Miss Willie, that I said this, that a lot of times, those of us who have parents from back in the day, they pretty much maybe they didn't know how to because of their own past experience. So they didn't know how to really express love to we as children. That's just my conclusion.
Yeah, I found that out later in life. They didn't know how to say it because it never was expressed to them. And that was something that I always longed to do because when I was in school, I played a lot of sports. And my dad he'll be to every game and he'll talk about how good I was, but he never said, I'm proud of you. I love you. And that was something that I think I was chasing more than anything. So that's why I always turn to a female because I feel like they can give me or show me the love. And that's what that was more. That's why I said I had to do a self-evaluation over my own life to change me. Once I changed me, I was able to put this book out like this.
Man, man, that's good, man. Let's move on. This next slide, 8. Marriage for me, you wrote this quote. Marriage for me was the result of me somewhere deep inside wanting to be healed, free, and good for my family. I wanted to do the right thing, but I knew I had not changed my ways. It felt as if the person I wanted to be was completely captivated by the person that I was conditioned into. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by I was captivated by the person I was conditioned to be? What did you mean by that?
Well, I always know when you marry somebody, and I knew what a father job was. I knew how to be a husband, but I wanted to be the perfect husband. I wanted to change the ways that the things I had going on, because sometimes we are married and we'll marry somebody, but deep down inside, we know we're not ready. Sometimes we go to the emotions, because most of the time, if you look at a marriage, who always say, I'm ready to marry? The man never said, the woman always said. So sometimes what we do, the whole position, the whole play, hold down the fault. We'll get married and know we're not quite ready, but we'll do it just to keep her happy, and that we can keep her to the point, giving her what she wants and not thinking about our own self. So when I got to that point in life, I want to be this time to be the best that I was, better than I was the first time. And I was like, if I marry again, and that was 16 years, the next marriage got to be forever. And I got to be, but in order for it to be forever, I got to change my ways.
So let's go into that. Let's see if we can wrap this up. Because the question was asked, how long did you continue in that cycle? And can you scroll back up for me, please? And you said, and the question was asked, when or what was your breaking point that made you change and work on yourself?
Well, I was in this cycle for till I got 24. And when I got 24, I started changing at the age of 24. I mostly see God more at that time. And I was trying to change until the marriage failed. When the marriage failed, it triggered me back to the old me. And I pursued for a little while. And then it seemed like when I got to the point where like, I don't want to do this, I'm not gonna mess around. I'm gonna be faithful to who I'm with, no matter what. And then it happened in the marriage again where she's cheated. And so when she cheated at the about the age 36, I was 36 years old, and I started to realize that I got to I got to work on me, because what I found out, what another person do, don't have anything to do with me. It
Wait,
has something to do with them.
let me back up a little bit so I can make sure I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you're saying that the wife that you was married to for 16 years, she cheated on you twice?
Yeah, it was a couple of times we had a lot, because we was young when we, you know how it is when you young, you 15, 16 years old, and you date, and then you get married at her, and it like you really never experienced anything, and you still trying to experience some stuff, and but you know that it's not good for you, but you do it anyway. That's what that was. It was like you was young and you were still trying to fill it and follow your way through. And but the last time I couldn't get past it more.
How old are you now? How old are you at that?
I'm 50. To my when
So
that
when that happened?
I was 34, 35, about 35,
Okay.
going on 36.
Okay.
And when I got about 36, that's the encounter that I had with God. And he began to show me, because I told you I was a musician at a church. At churches, I played a lot of churches at that time, and I put it down. I put my gift down. I was so angry and I was so hurt that I didn't even want to. I couldn't. It was like I talked to God like, "Why you let this happen? You let this happen to me?" Because I was angry and upset, and that's when He gave me a reality check. He said, "Out of all the things you have done in life, and the things you have, and the people you have hurt, the seed you have sown, do you you didn't never think that it was gonna come back to you?"
Mm. Mm.
And I was like, I had to humble down and start putting myself on a more of a journey of talking to God more and clearing my mind, my thoughts, and my heart. And that's how I start overcoming it at the age of 36. It started to break that I was more than what I thought I was. I don't have to, it ain't got no reflection of you, what somebody do. It's all about that is on them. But it's time for you to get yourself together and come out of the predicament I was in.
So let me ask you this, because this is something that I'm very big on, and it's a piece of advice that I would generally give young men or men, period, who experience this type of cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a time that you said to yourself that I need to learn how to live as a man without a woman?
Mm-hmm. And that's the stage I'm in now. I learned how to it don't even move me anymore. I can be in a place, I can see 1,000 of beautiful women. It don't even amuse me, because I overcame that part of my life. And at a time it would. But that's how I know that the growth of God that's within me now. Because it is like, I tell them right now, if I tell Donna right now, if you died today, I never want to be married again, because I don't feel like I gotta have that. I feel like it's more about the relationship with me and God. And I know sometimes people say, well, you still need a companion. Yeah, you can have a companion, but I don't really feel like I gotta be in that, because I understand now who I am. At first, I didn't know who I was, man. I was out there just having fun, and I was gonna keep you for hurting me, and I was enjoying my life. But when I really and start putting my mind and learning who I was and going within myself, and letting the light shine, and looking for that treasure within me, that's when everything started happening. Like my trucking business. I had my own trucking business. I don't have like 7, 8 trucks, drivers, and everything started to line up when I started to line up with God.
So to sum this up, and we got to get it, we got to get out of here. The time is growing.
Okay.
To sum this up, you're saying, because it sounds like the same thing I had to say. What you would say to men who may have been rejected with love, um, and rejected as far as love was concerned, went through that cycle. The first thing they need to do, they need to fix themselves.
Fix themselves.
And they need to go to God
Mm-hmm.
in order to get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, sir. You need what you got to do is you got to learn yourself, because how can you learn to make somebody else happy when you can't make your own self happy? You got to learn what make you happy. You got to learn if a woman is not here, I'm gonna put me first, because if a woman not here, she can leave me today, she can leave me tomorrow. But what would I do? So what I learned then, put me first and learn and learn all I can about God, and put God in my heart. And when I put God in my heart, that's begin to show me how to love. And that begin to show me how I can learn how to love somebody else. Because if you don't love God, how can you love somebody else if you don't love him? Because you don't know, he is the true meaning of love. If you look in the end of the book and you see me write a love letter, and the love letter, it sounds like I'm writing it to a person, and I'm writing it to God himself.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And what you're saying is absolutely true. I'll tell you, man, you're like a carbon copy. Different life experiences, but pretty much the same thing. And I know for me, what helped me was the fact that I had, especially in my last marriage, I just decided, you know what, I'm tired. I'm done with this thing, man. Yes. Let me focus on God. It's gonna be me, God, and my children. That's it. And that was my whole intent. And then even the wife that I'm with right now, we've been together for almost 20 years now. But at the time, bro, listen, man, I was running. Yes. I was running from her because I, like you were saying, I didn't want to have anything to do with any relationship at all. I just didn't want it. So I think it's important to know that as men, that in order to be in a healthy relationship, you first and foremost must be healthy within yourself. You got to realize that you got to get to the place. You have to get to the place to realize that, you know what, I got to fix me first. You cannot in your book, what it shows that you can have as many women, you can have as many women as you want, but you cannot love genuinely, and nor will you receive genuine love.
Right.
You are absolutely healed.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man.
You gotta hear yourself and work on your own thoughts and how you perceive a relationship. Because if you work on your thoughts, and because what's gonna happen is, if you don't hear yourself and you get in the next relationship, you're gonna be just swapping out relationship, because you're gonna be going through the same thing, because you fighting to get to a love that you don't know nothing about.
You know something? I'm gonna say this, then we gotta go. I had encountered multiple relationships, marriages, right? And I realized that all the time that the reason I was in marriage after marriage after marriage after marriage was because I was a broken man.
Yes, sir. It was you. You were broken.
It was me. I was broken. And I'm thinking, I'm loving hard and all that stuff, but I was broken. And this is what you mean by damaged goods. This is a true story. And I'm not saying this because you're here, because I can almost take your name from there and put my name there, bro. I'm telling you, man, it's so close, But yeah, you got to hear yourself, brothers. I hope that you definitely listen.
Before you leave, can you hold the book back up again?
As a matter of fact, we can put the cover up. Put the cover up for.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something about that cover before we go.
Yeah, hold on. We're gonna put the cover up for it. Yeah.
Okay, you see the cover, it's damaged good. Yeah. Okay, you see the two hands pulling the rope. Right. When I asked God, what would I do for the cover? He say, since it's about damaged relationship, damaged marriages, it's two hands pulling against the rope. You got they pulling against each other, and that's what we do in a marriage. That's what we do in a relationship. We pull against each other. You see the reins. The reins symbolize the marriage. So once we keep pulling out the wire, the rope was eventually break, and the reins will fall to the ground, and it will fall to the ground, and then the marriage will be no longer involved.
Wow. Wow. So we got to get out of pulling against each other, start pulling together, huh?
Yes, and pull together as one, because he created us to be married and to be in a relationship to become one.
Right. We'll put that back up, Mr. Producer. Listen, I'm going to encourage you all. Please go to Amazon.com and buy this book for yourself. This is a great story. It's a great story. It's a great story. And so if you have men in your family who are struggling, and especially with marital relationships, and you know what, let me say this, because I don't want to preach to anyone this thing, but let me just get the truth. If you constantly just bumping heads with your spouse, brothers, I'm talking to the brothers. You bumping heads with your wife, please. First place, yeah, she might have some flaws, but you know what? Fix your flaws first.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure, this is how the best way to approach it. God, help me to be the man that you want me to be. Help me to be the husband that you would want me to be. Help me to be the father if you have children. Help me to be the father that you want me to be. Just focus on that. And then you leave her into God's hands. But fix you first.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a whole lot of fixing within yourself that you may not even know about. So go to Amazon.com and put in damaged goods, Mr. Willie Frank Prather. Is it Prather or Prather? Prather Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Go ahead and get that done. Okay, you pull that out there, Mr. Producer. Yes, sir. Hey, Mr. Willie, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this a long relationship, man. We're gonna, if it's possible, we could get you back on, and we're gonna talk about it. Hey, listen. Also, if you don't mind, look, I talked about my book.
Yes, sir.
Learning the Man Within.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to get this seal, you go to, put the website up for me, yeah, please. Go to fathersnote.com. Go to fathersnote.com and you can purchase this book there. All
okay.
Right? This is my life story, and I got a whole lot of stuff to say.
Yes, sir. I think your book would be good for fathernotes.com would be good for my men's empowerment, because I am over the men's ministry at our church, and I think that would be a good one, because we do marriage and couple retreats too.
Look, man, listen, I talk about everything in here, bro. I ain't holding nothing back, man. I just, my experiences as with my father, my relationship with him, my own marriages, and I got it all in there, bro.
And that's what I try to do. I try to cut back some of it. I really can't let it rip, because I probably been exiled from the family.
Well, you know what? You wrote what God would have you to write.
Yeah.
Right. That's it, man. But I'm sure looking forward to that next one that you sent on writing,
okay.
Man. We got to get out of here.
All right, man.
Right here. Hey, man, much love to you, man.
Appreciate you too, man. Be good.
Hey, listen, everybody. Thank you so much. Those of you who have watched, who have tuned in tonight, we certainly appreciate your support. Again, please go and support my dear brother. Go to Amazon and help him out, right? Purchase this book. It's a good read. It's a very good. It's a quick read, but it's good. But it's a lot of wholesome stuff in there. It's good. Now, I didn't want to share too much of the information, man, but it was good, right? So, hey, we'll be back again next week with another show. We're gonna see what we got going. You're gonna see what we have in store for you. All right. And until then, much love to you. Peace. God bless. All right.